Positive way, hey, positive way.
Forget about the crowds, the size of the school, their fancy uniforms, and remember what got you here. Focus on the fundamentals that we've gone over time and time again. And most important, don't get caught up thinking about winning or losing this game. If you put your effort and concentration into playing to your potential, to be the best that you can be, I don't care what the scoreboard says at the end of the game, in my book, we're going to be winners.
This is the New Hampshire High School Basketball Show.
This is a second coming. This is a call to arms. Your finest hour won't be wasted.
The New Hampshire High School Basketball Show is brought to you by the New Hampshire State Liquor Commission's Division of Enforcement.
Right now, it's not about talent, it's about heart. It's about who can go out there and play the hardest, who can go out there and play the smartest. Now, they've been here before, so they're not going to give it to us. We got to go out there and we got to take it.
And now your hosts, Pete Terrier.
But I have a question, though. Those two foul shots at the end of the game, did you miss them? Or did you miss them?
Not exactly a shoot question, is it?
And Dave Haley from NHSportsPage.com.
All season long, we played our game. Right now, you're playing theirs. When we step on the floor, every second that clock is ticking, we are pedal to the metal. We run the ball. We pressure the ball. And most importantly, we control the tempo of the game.
This is gonna hurt.
Good morning and welcome to a Super Bowl edition of the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show. We bring it to you each and every Saturday morning live on the radio. Two fine stations here in New Hampshire. The legendary News Radio 610 WGIR and the becoming legendary News Radio 96.7 out on the Seacoast. My name is Pete Terrier. Back in studio by my long-lost friend and co-host, Dave Haley from NHSportsPage.com. Dave, glad to have you back. I really need you today.
I know, carrying this thing today. Boy, you turned it on, though, man. You could barely even speak, and then, boom, that light came on, and all of a sudden,
I'll give it
Mr.
to you
Personality.
I'll give it to you in spurts today. I'll do what I can.
I'm excited to be here. Last time I listened to the show last Saturday, waiting for my little van to come pick me up in Jamaica, so... And yes, it was 80 degrees, but if people don't know why I went down there, it was my parents, my dad, and my stepmother's 25th wedding anniversary, so they wanted all of us to be down there, and they paid the entire tab, which was quite large by the end of the week. So I loved being down there, golfed 3 times and all that stuff, but it's hard leaving this in the middle of the season. I know I'm a nut for saying that, but I definitely missed 2 shows stinks, and all the stuff that goes on, I was keeping track. I missed it. So
yeah, I see you like tweeting. I see you like posting stories from Jamaica.
They were parasailing, my family, while I wrote the Thursday Thoughts.
Oh boy,
Paul Coveney was funny. He's like, "You are nuts, man. What are you doing down there?"
Well, speaking of Thursday Thoughts, I was reading your column and you went after some people this week.
It's been a busy week on the phone for me. Yeah,
we'll get into that. I was like, whoa, what did he ever do to him? What I was thinking after reading your Thursday Thoughts column, and we'll get on that. There wasn't many games played last night because of the snow, and let's face it, this week has basically been a wash. Not only is it Super Bowl week, and we finally got over the Deflategate for the most part, and we started talking about some football, but the big blizzard comes in, another snowstorm after that. I'm all fired up about the Super Bowl. I got pond hockey going on up in the Lakes region, all kinds of crazy stuff. But a lot of games got postponed last night because of that snow that was primarily in the northern part of the state and in the eastern part of the state. So a lot of games got postponed. So a normal Friday night scoreboard, which would have, 60 games or so across 4 divisions?
Like 45, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's only a smattering of games across all the divisions. So why don't we get you those scores right now? Brought to you, as always, by our friends from the New Hampshire State Liquor Commission, the Division of Enforcement, and that Buyers Beware campaign, reminding all adults it's against the law to provide alcohol to minors. Even if you're going to settle in for a football game tomorrow night, watch the Super Bowl, cheer on the Pats. It's against the law to share a six-pack with your teenager or your preschooler. Certainly not something you want to do. So please stay away from that. But enjoy the game and go Patriots.
Alvern moves to 7-2 with an 80-73. Little harder than expected overtime win over Concord, 80-73. The great John Kesty and I were out there Monday night to see them beat Trinity. Andrew Wetmore and Evan Hunt with another big game for Alvin, moves to 7-2. Bedford, 52-45 win over Keene. Keene's playing much better this year. Bedford kind of up and down. Manchester Central was up big on Bishop Girton and ends up winning 75-67. Joey Martin, 26 points. Omaru Conte, 19 points. And Doc Wheeler told me yesterday he feels like he has a chance to be one of the best, if not the best, point guard in the state of New Hampshire if he can kind of keep rolling and kind of keep disciplined and so forth. But Conte has been terrific for these guys.
When he's been there, he's definitely played well for them. I think he makes a big difference because it takes some of the, the ball handling pressures off of a kid like Joey Martin. I mean, Joey's not his brother John in terms of the point guard ability, but he is a tremendous passer. But I think his game is scoring, and they need him to rebound as well, him and Leroy, because they just don't have a lot of size. It'll be interesting to see, for me, how far Central can take this streak. I mean, they're 35 wins in a row dating back to last year. If you want to count your little your tournament, your summer tournament stuff with the NHSportsPage.com team, what is it?
I'm just saying he hadn't lost a game. That's all I'm saying. I certainly wouldn't count with a record, but I mean, I'm saying they can highly competitive games. I've never seen that kid lose. I don't count summer league. I mean, or fall leagues.
This Central team is not the same team that they were last year, obviously. I mean, if they
not anything like
played that team, they would get beat. I don't see this team going the route of the season.
Well, D1's down this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's down. But, I mean, they're sharing the ball pretty well. I think Doc feels like they could do a better job of sharing the ball and making the extra pass. But this is, I think it all comes from Joey Martin as a kid who's unselfish. And I just think he's a terrific player. And I think he does whatever the heck you need to win a game. And I don't think he cares how many points he scores. I just, I don't know. I'm going to do my midseason snapshots for D1 and D2 next week. Player of the year, is it Geo Baker? At the halfway point, is it Geo Baker? Is it Joey Martin? Is it Cody Ball? Cody Ball was my preseason. He's done nothing to take away, to lose it, but those three guys stand out to me. Like, those are the three, right? Would you agree?
Didn't Baker go off the other night? Had like 37
like 5
or
threes,
something?
I think.
Yeah.
He makes I don't even know what offense they're running, honestly, and I don't say that like negatively, but it's just him creating, and Rizzo does a lot for those guys too. Those two guys creating off the dribble and getting guys like Caleb Godin and David Folks and Brennan Morris, who had, I think, 5 threes the other night.
No, big matchup on Friday night, Pinkerton, Londonderry.
And we will be there.
Where is that game?
It's at Pinkerton.
At Pinkerton?
Yeah.
Oh, good. It's a bigger place.
So, Pete, you'll be there, right?
Yeah. I'll be there Friday night.
So we're supposed to blow through this, and now you're going to blame me for when it's long at the end of it.
Not when there's only a handful of games. We can talk at length about each of them.
My preseason number 1, Pinkerton. They said Dave Haley was nuts. What glue is he sniffing over there in Hampton? 74-25 over Nashua North. Angry at Joe Marshallino, my friend, because he kept tweeting out scores of this game. The girls score without saying it's the girls' game. Joe, come on, just put a little G on there so I know. Because I'm like, North is beating Pinkerton?
Well, if you watch the Pinkerton Twitter feed, it'll say
I do follow that.
VBB,
yeah.
Varsity Boys Basketball, or VGB. That's all you need, Joe.
I must have missed that
That's
one.
all you need.
Yeah, that's all you got to do, Joe. Come on, Joe. You're a crafty veteran. You know better. Merrimack, 54-47 win over Salem. I can't figure out why Salem's not better. Yeah, they'll get better. Rob McLaughlin's great, but
it's halfway through the season.
Yeah,
they're sitting on one win.
No, I got 2.
Okay,
but I would look at your iPad you let me use, but it wants a passcode. You've locked it for your kids, so I don't know your password. We'll have to do that during the Christmas break. But Merrimack, I've said it, I've written it. Tim Goodrich is just how good of a coach is Tim Goodrich?
He is a great coach.
He's a great coach, great guy too.
He's a great coach.
I love that you're giving me the password like people in case they steal it.
John's filming this thing on NHSportsPage.com. I'm showing Dave my passcode. Hopefully you don't have the angle correct on that. Hopefully my kids don't see it.
Yeah, they won't retain it. Game of the night, Merrimack Valley upsets Brady at Brady, 58-57. This was a good old-fashioned Concord rivalry game. Years and years and years ago, straight out of college, I used to help coach at John Stark. They're big guys. And this was always Brady-Merrimack Valley. It was always a huge game in Concord. So big win last night. So what happens here is Merrimack Valley's down 3 with 54 seconds left. They get 2 foul shots from Bruce Barton, their big man, and then Nate Molevi, I think you say his name, good little point guard from Merrimack Valley. We've talked about him a lot. He gets a steal. They run a play. He gets a pull-up jumper. They go up 1 with 11 seconds left. Brady calls timeout. 2 fouls to give, and Kevin O'Brien, veteran coach for Merrimack Valley, has them foul twice. So then Brady gets the ball with 1 second left, has to throw it out. An out-of-bounds play hits the backboard. Chaos ensues. And Merrimack Valley with a very big 58-57 win. I mean, you look at Merrimack Valley on the season. They're preseason. I picked them number 4. They've scored 469 points and given up 424. So I mean, for a 7-2 team,
that's the big guys on defense making a difference. That's my guess. I haven't.
But
seen
I mean,
that's
not much of a difference. I mean, that's a 40-point difference, and they're 7-2. So they've won a lot of close games. A great win there. Conval 64-60 over John Stark. John Stark's got 3 young good players. Cooper Gorski, one of them. Drew McCory, the quarterback and the wide receiver. They just got to fill in around those guys, and Mike Smith's team will come on in the next couple of years. Lebanon has played last time was their 7th game of the year. I know that I was up there with Keith Matty the other day because they're doing fundraising with us, with neighborhood fundraising. He's just like, we just want to play games.
Give us some games.
Please let us play. 67-39, Lebanon beats Sauhegan last night. Another game of the night, Conant 71-65 over Campbell
Must
last
have been
night.
a great atmosphere for that one.
Yeah, DeGrenier finally went off, which I'm so happy about Josh DeGrenier because he's such a good kid and he works so hard, and he's really struggled shooting the ball this year. He went off last night, so that's...
How many points? Any clue?
I don't know
I
exactly.
saw the tweet from Ben Conant and Michelle Berthayum. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce your name, Michelle, but love following your coverage out there in the Monadnock region. Yeah. And Ben actually said that DeGrenier was a beast. Is that where you're getting that from?
And I heard he had hit a couple of big shots too. I talked to Regan last night, but I haven't talked to Saucier yet. But
when I look at that kid, all due respect, I do not think beast. I'm sorry. He's not a big kid.
He's a good kid, man. He works his butt off, so I'm really happy that he had a good night last night. So great win for Conant. They get the W there. Stevens, 75-63 over Hillsborough Deering. In that one, another big game last night. Pelham, Keith Brown, fastest player in Pelham history to get to 1,000 points last night. We remember a little chunky little freshman, Keith Brown, power forward, and don't you feel like we've been following Keith Brown for like 5 years?
We have. And I was talking when you were away, I think the first week, Regan was in studio. Matt Regan, the coach from Pelham, was in studio with us along with Kevin Bonney and Dave Keefe. And he was like, yeah, Keith Brown has lost 50 pounds since his freshman year.
Yeah.
So this is a kid who has really worked at it, worked at his game, worked at his physique. And he is just a great all-around player. Not a big guy, but he has big man skills, about 6'2", and he could play with his back to the basket. I don't think there's a lot of kids in New Hampshire high school basketball who can do that and still go out and drain threes at will on the wing.
He's the player of the year. If you're a Division III coach and you don't vote for him at the end of the year, I want you to reach out to me and have a conversation before you do that because it's not close. Like, there's some really good Andrew Hood. Fantastic year this year for them. Stoffenecker's a heck of a player, but Keith Brown is the best player in that division. He's playing half the game some nights, scoring 20, doing whatever they need, running the point. He's defending. So good win there. Brown had 18 points last night. And Regan, I talked to Matt last night, and he was saying, and this is a very common thing that you hear, he was so happy when he got his thousands because they were kind of force-feeding him the ball early, and it wasn't the ball move they wanted. And, of course, the kids are just trying to get him to 1,000 at home. And
he needed 10 going into the game.
Yeah, he knew he was going to get it. And Matt said to me, he goes, Coach Regan, he said, after he got his thousandth, like they started moving and sharing the ball better and playing better. So he's like, oh, that's his teammates. They want to get him there. Ryan Kluter with 15 points. He had a huge dunk in that game. I think he had 2 dunks. He had a 2-handed throwdown. Jared Stoffenegger held to 7 points. He had 5 points going in the last minute. He had a pair of foul shots late, so they held him in check. And they get the W there. Other score is we got Bow with a 40-39 win over Sanborn. Other score from Thursday night. How did this guy? Who put this in the teleprompter? Guilford 70, Laconia 36.
It's not on my scoreboard.
To a little. Max Torino, the human hurricane,
What's
13
his name?
points. Max Torino.
I thought it was Troiano.
Troiano. What did I say? Trino?
Yeah.
Max Troiano.
I mean, how can you screw up your own Whoopi's name?
Is he my Whoopi? Because I'm reading text messages from somebody. Max Triano with 13 points off the bench. Guilford with a 70-36 win over Laconia. I called that game on WEMJ. Nice enough to invite me on, and I'll probably never be invited back. And finally, Colebrook with a 60-41 win over Gorham last night. Buddy Trask, Hall of Famer Buddy Trask. He demands that everybody refer to him as Hall of Famer Buddy Trask. Huge ego on that guy. But he gets the W last night, so he'll be in a good mood this morning, so we're happy with that. That's the scoreboard.
Yeah, we're having Buddy on 8:35 this morning. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, and we'll reacquaint ourselves together on this show talking about New Hampshire high school hoops because it's been 3 weeks since we've done that. I think before you left, the Patriots are going into that Baltimore game, so it was a long time ago that me and you have done a show.
Can I say one thing for a commercial?
Yeah.
Because this was an omission. Apparently, my friendship just ended with Justin McIsaac because I didn't mention Darian Barry for Play of the Year consideration. Yeah, we should probably mention Darian Barry.
Did you get a text, or did you just feel guilty?
An angry text.
Oh, boy.
So Darian Barry's in that discuss too. He's been terrific. He's first team All-State. There's spoiler alert. There's 4 of your first team All-State guys at the mid-break.
All right, we'll take a timeout. New Hampshire High School Hoop Show continues on News Radio 610 and 96.7.
From Manchester West to Winnicott, Central to Somersworth, and Portsmouth to Plymouth, this is the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show on News Radio 610 and 96.7.
Well, the calendar getting set to switch over to the month of February, which means it's crunch time in New Hampshire high school basketball. Pete Terrier, along with Dave Haley. It is the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show. We do it for you live on the radio, a couple of stations here in New Hampshire, News Radio 610 and 96.7. And, of course, the video cast of the show, John Kesty from NHSportsPage.com, always gets up bright and early on a Saturday morning to come film it and post it on the website so you can watch it on demand. And I know a lot of people do watch the show on demand. They really enjoy it because I get tweets, where's the show? How come it's not up yet? You know, we try and do it as fast as possible. Sometimes we have other things going on in our lives, but we do it. And we really enjoy it. And we love seeing those views go up and up and up. And it seems like it's something that's catching on. I guess you're getting texts from the North Country saying, I can't listen to the iHeart stream. What's going on?
Paul Greenlaw was saying he was having trouble with us. Hopefully he's on now. But profile coach.
An easy way to do it is just go on iHeartRadio.com and then just do a search for either one of the stations.
I listen to Jamaica on my phone, so there's no excuse. Yeah, people should be able to find it.
You can get it done. Just go to iHeartRadio and search WGIR AM.
Yeah.
And then you can find it, and you can listen live no matter where you are, even in Jamaica. So, Dave, with the schedule getting kind of whitewashed a little this week, we got big problems as far as, like, making up these games, and this schedule has been weird because it used to be like Tuesday and Friday was basketball.
Right.
Now you got games on Monday. Now you got games on Wednesday. Sometimes these divisions have a bye because of finals or midterms or whatever. I mean, this makes it very, very difficult, not only for the media to keep track of what games were actually played last night and where the games were moved. You had mentioned that there's a game Pembroke's playing this afternoon.
Yeah, against Exeter. I think it's at 2 o'clock. Yeah, Jeff Holmes sent an email out.
Is that game in Exeter?
I believe it's in Exeter.
So it gets kind of wacky and it gets kind of hard to keep track of things. But I think we're starting to get a sense just by looking at the standings. And, I'll start in Division I of New Hampshire boys hoop because you mentioned Pinkerton at the beginning of the year. They haven't disappointed you. They've definitely played well this year. Central, undefeated. Londonderry, undefeated. There's a big matchup on Friday between Londonderry and Pinkerton. Spalding and Alvern. Those are probably the two surprise teams, and maybe Merrimack, the other one that I would
I think
say.
Alvern's the surprise team.
You think so more so
I saw
than Spalding?
I saw them Monday night. You know what's the funny thing about those Alvern kids? And I'll say this like in a very positive way. They have an attitude about themselves, like
chip on their shoulder.
Yeah, they do. They definitely do. And I mean, I like that. I think that's great. And you look at their roster; it's seniors all over the place, but they share the basketball. They're well coached. And Brian Lynch has done a terrific job, but Seth Guerin has done did a great job setting those kids up. So, yeah. So, they're probably a surprise team right now. And then, I don't know if Spalding's so much of a surprise. I think Merrimack is a surprise. That Tim Goodrich, when I talked to Tim in the preseason, he said, I think that we have a chance to be pretty good by March. They're pretty good right now. And, I mean, how about that Londonderry game while I was gone? I kind of told people they're going to slow it down, and they did. I think they lost, 55-54. And,
they lost by one, 52-51.
52-51. So, I mean, the point is they held Londonderry almost into the 40s. And And, they in the first half, they tried to run with Londonderry. It didn't work, and Tim Goodrich was good enough to go in halftime and say, all right, we're adjusting this thing, slowed it down, and, that's a team that is – he's done a terrific job with those guys.
You mentioned Exeter, and they'll be playing Pembroke today. I got a chance to see them last week. I think it was last week. It seems like it was a while ago. And it was the DJ Frechette, Brian Holmes show. And I'm sure you watched the video on nhsportspage.com. And that kid Holmes can shoot it. I mean, he is a shooter. They need some help around him.
His dad could shoot a little, too.
Yeah. I mean, Jeff was the all-time leading scorer for a while out of Keene. And then Pat Leptelski ended up breaking his scoring record. But Brian Holmes, very good player. He's a junior. DJ Frechette, I talked about him and how I used to coach his dad back in the day. I actually saw Danny Frechette when I was at the game the other night, and we talked
I can't believe how many shout-outs this guy's gotten. He's getting shout-outs everywhere.
Well, his kid can play. I mean, you haven't seen DJ play, have you?
No, I saw him on film.
The kid is a scorer. I said Brian Holmes is a shooter. I think DJ Frechette is a shooter, but he is first and foremost a scorer, and he's not that big. I made the joke about the beast comparison for Josh DeGrenier. DJ Frechette is the same type of build, a real small kid, kind of wiry, tough, but the kid can put up some points. It was a lot of fun seeing that game the other night.
I love how you snuck in a South game while I was gone.
Let's talk D2, Dave, for a second, because Portsmouth still riding high. I think Manchester West is playing really, really good. Cole Brown, to me, is the team that, man, they're 6-1. How'd they get that to happen?
Yeah,
I know you love Dave Smith. I know he's one of your longtime friends, but it's the schedule maybe for them.
Yeah,
I don't think they're at the top of D2.
They got a pair of wins over Oyster River. Who's down? Lauren will have those guys turned around quickly, but they're down. They beat Kingswood, so they got two good wins. They beat Merrimack Valley. That's a win that looks a lot better. Looks a lot better today. And then they beat Kennett at Kennett. So I have no doubt that Cole Brown is good, and I have no doubt that they're legit. It's my assertion that the four teams at the top, and Merrimack Valley won't like this, are a little above the rest. And maybe we have to include Merrimack Valley and Cole Brown in that conversation. But to me, it's Portsmouth, Brady, West, and Lebanon. And how about Brady now with 2 losses? And then if they go up to Lebanon, they got to go to Lebanon. And so we're going to cover West at Lebanon and Brady at Lebanon. We kind of did out our schedule. So if Brady loses a game, say at Lebanon, they got 3 losses. Now you're talking about
and they still
may have to go on the road.
They still got to play Portsmouth.
And they still got to play Portsmouth. So say they lose those 2 games, they're 14-4. That means they're going on the road in the quarterfinals to go play Lebanon or West, or you know what I mean?
I still think Brady's a team that can handle that type of atmosphere. I mean, Jordan Bell, they got the senior leadership, Brendan Johnson, obviously. I think that's a very, very good basketball team. Quite a turnaround.
Oh, yeah.
They blew out Merrimack Valley in the Capital Holiday Classic.
Yeah, they beat them by like 14. I mean, I don't know if they blew them out, but they beat them by 14, yeah.
They controlled that game. They controlled
Valley got to look
Valley.
at them. And Kevin O'Brien is a guy who won titles, a long time ago back when old people like me were playing in high school. Kevin O'Brien was the coach of Merrimack Valley, Dave Huckins and Scott Drapo and those guys. So he knows what he's doing. So I give him a ton of credit. And I'm not saying I wasn't there, and I'm not suggesting that he outcoached Cole Etten, but it's a learning experience for a guy like Cole Etten as a new coach to kind of – these are, I've become pretty good buddies with Nate Stanton at Londonderry, and he talks about the difference from year 1 to year 2. And you learn a lot that first year on the job, the first time through, because you got veteran coaches you're going up against who have been through this a lot longer than you have. So, Brady's terrific. They'll be fine.
Let's shift it over to D3. Say no more about Pelham. We know what we know. They're the odds-on favorite. It would be a shock if anybody knocked them off on the way to a championship in D3. But then you got these other teams like Newport, like Conant, which I think this Conant win last night against Campbell was a big win for them.
And they beat Newport.
They did beat Newport
at Newport.
as well.
So, I mean, that's 2 excellent wins. Jay Billis would be going crazy right now if he's talking about
the RPI
wins.
Is through the roof for the Orioles.
And, they're going to have that rematch with Messinic. They weren't happy with me in Messinic because I didn't mention them as a true contender. They lost to Wilton, a Division IV team. So I look at Messinic right where I put them in the preseason, like that 7-8 area. That's where I think that they are. Last night, It's funny. People are funny. They hear Pelham's good, and you know this because you've seen it with your own eyes. They know Pelham's good, and then when they see them, they're like, oh, yeah, they're really, really good. And that's kind of like, I don't want to beat it to death, but I think Conant could beat – if there's one team that can beat them in the tournament, it's Conant, and I think Conant could do it maybe 1 out of 10 times. If Pelham has a bad shooting night and,
and the game is in Jaffrey.
No, the game would
that
be
helps.
Southern New Hampshire. I think they could do it. The mystery team is Berlin, and
they were supposed to play Winnisquam.
Yeah,
last night.
I think that got snowed out. I got all the stats. I talked to Dave Morissette last week, their new coach, and Levi Arsenal got hurt, and he's been out like the last 6 games. He was averaging 17 points a game for them. So he is going to come back. He's got that same, remember the knee he had during the Jamboree when they played BG? He's still got that knee injury. He's been resting it, and they've been, working on it. So hopefully we hope that he's healthy at the end of the year. But you got Levi and Nick Fedor and Evan Arsenal and Tommy Gallagher. That's a good little Berlin team, and they're kind of the mystery team right there. We got Pelham, Winnisquam next week, and then we've got Newport and Pelham coming up as well, and that will, we're going to see where teams stand. I'm
looking forward to seeing Winnisquam play on Tuesday night out there in Tilton against Keith Brown.
First time we've been out there,
Python. Right? No, I have. I don't even know where the school is.
It's wherever. If you accidentally go to Franklin High School, you're only like a mile away.
Okay.
It's right. You got off the exit there in Tilton, and you go straight down. You go right by Winnisquam High School. It's the easiest place to get to.
All right, looking forward to it. I'll be out there on Tuesday night, providing. I know there's another big snowstorm coming in on Monday, so hopefully I'll be out there with like a Patriots championship hat or something like that. Super Bowl championship. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll get into Division 4. We got Hall of Famer Buddy Trask, the coach of the Colebrook Mohawks, the only team to taste victory last night in Division 4. Well, there was only 2 teams that played, and Colebrook was one of them, and they beat Gorham last night. So we'll talk to Buddy Trask when we return to the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show, News Radio 610 and 96.7.
Welcome back to the best local coverage of New Hampshire High School basketball, the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show on News Radio 610 and 96.7.
Yeah, and this isn't a show that just focuses on the Manchester area, southern New Hampshire.
Not anymore.
We'll take it way up north right now to visit our good friend of the program, Buddy Trask from Colebrook. Coach Trask, good morning, and you know how we got to start these interviews when we bring you on, especially during this time of year when it's like 3 degrees in my house in Goffstown. What the heck
3 degrees is 3 degrees is Florida.
Yeah. So what is it up there at this point?
Oh, who knows? I don't even look at it. It's cold. I had to go shovel my driveway this morning, so put me right in a good mood for this show. So I'm ready to roll.
Well, you're in a good mood partially because of the win last night. You guys beat Gorham 60-41, and we found out before you go correcting us that there was another game in D4 played last night.
Yeah, no, I got one other score because I know in Bethlehem they would be very upset if I didn't mention 59-22 Littleton beats Profile last night. Yikes, that's a big rivalry game, and in that game, buddy, you can correct me if I'm wrong because I don't really know basketball. I just kind of got into this recently. Littleton went on a 52-5 run. Is that good? It sounds good.
Well, it wasn't good for Profile.
Paul Greenlaw just threw his phone out the window, but
yeah, that's a pretty good run, that's for sure. But I mean, Littleton, well, Woodsville beat them, once, so but I think they're still the best team up here. But 52-5 is kind of brutal.
That's ugly. So, Coach, your team has turned it around. You had a 2-game losing streak that had you under 500 by a couple of games, but you won your last 4 victories against Woodsville and Groveton and Linwood and then Gorham last night. What's been the big turnaround for you guys into getting this ship moving in the right direction?
Well, when we were going through the losing streak and stuff, we were without our best player, and our team walks a very thin line. We can compete with the good teams, and we can play with the teams that are not so good also, as we've already proven. And when we miss one guy, I mean, the example, at home, Wilton beat us at our place by 40, and then we go down there and we take them to overtime, and I mean, it's when we lose, we're not very deep, and when you lose your best player who does almost, a little bit of everything and makes everybody else on the floor better, we have a tough time. And, he's gotten back, and a couple of other kids have stepped up. Richard Davis has come along for us. It's almost like having a new kid move in. He's a big guy, a big guy for us at 6 feet. But, he's really starting to attack on the boards, and he's scoring some points for us, and that's helped us out a lot. And Creek Cooney has come along. The one thing that's happened when Cedric was out is that Creed had to step up and look to try to create ways to score, and he's taking the ball to the rim and stuff. And he's been a consistent scorer for us here over the last 5 or 6 games. So we're starting to get some things back, and hopefully next week I hope we'll have Hastings back, and then we'll actually be able to go 6 or 7 deep instead of 5 or 6. So,
Yes.
Other than that,
Go ahead.
No, so I mean that's, as I said, we walk a pretty thin line where, we don't shoot all that well, we don't rebound all that well, we defend sometimes, we manage to hang around, and as I said, we try to win ugly, whatever it takes. The days of the 65, 70, 75-point games, those are probably done for us. Because whenever we get into a point where we don't score, we hang on to the ball. So,
yeah, and it's Cedric McKinnon you're talking about. Who has really been a key for you. I think he's junior point guard and done a nice job. So we talk a lot about in this division, North and South, and Littleton believed to be the best team in the North Country, but again, that line has gotten a little thinner than we thought it was going to be. But what are your thoughts on? For example, I know I talk about them all the time, but a team like Sunapee, because you look at the standings right now, Sunapee's at 3-6, and they have a very tough schedule. That's a team that could be a 13 or 14 seed. And, if you're Mark Collins at Groveton and you got Sunapee coming in the first round, that's not exactly, a team you would expect to play. But what are your thoughts on, some of the Southern teams? Because I know, are you scouting at all? You said you wouldn't scout till they scored 60. Are you out there now?
If we split this week, I'll start thinking about where we might finish and who we might see. The thing with our team is every time you think we're going to go and do something good, we turn around and not. That's the only thing consistent about us. So I've told them, I always do my job. I'll get out eventually, but I haven't been out as much as what I would have been in the past. In the past, I pretty much knew that where we were going to be and what we were going to do. And, but once we got some teams narrowed down as to where we might finish, I'll be out on the road.
What do you think about that Sunapee team?
Well, the two guys are enough to beat anybody. I haven't seen him this year, so I don't really know. I watched the game on the sports page there against Wilton, but those two guys, Wilton came to our place last year and beat us with essentially one guy. So two guys could handle it. I mean, nobody up here. I mean, all the coaches have talked about it. It's not that they don't want to see them. Hey, you got to come to our place. Well, you got to come to a place up here. It's not going to be easy. But it does create. They're not going to be a typical 8-10, 7-11 team or whatever they're going to be. That's what we said about Wilton last year. They were 9-9, and a lot of people called it an upset. And I said, well, if we played Derryfield, Epping, and Sunapee last year, we would have been 9-9. It is what it was. It was a 50-50 game. I knew it was. So, and as far as the rest of them go, all those, the Wiltons, even PCA, I haven't seen them this year. They're all probably stronger than the teams up here. But as I told the kids, it's one game. It's not. I don't think the gap is as wide as it was last year, where those top three teams were definitely 30 points better than all of us. I think on a given night, certainly a Littleton could beat one of those teams, but I don't quite know if they're physically ready to play some of those teams yet. But on a one night they could.
That's Buddy Trask from Colebrook, our guest, joining us from the North Country. Dave Haley's going to be heading up there next weekend. You got the rivalry game going against Groveton. It's on the road this time. You beat them, a couple weeks ago at your place. What makes that rivalry so special that people kind of just wait for this matchup every single year, and it really is a big thing in both of those towns?
Well, it is. I mean, both towns are basketball schools, and 30 years ago or stuff, when they were the only two schools really up here that were, in the real North Country that were Class M, the old Class M. So, I think that started a little bit. It really got heightened at the, in the 90s, the early 90s and stuff, and the early 2000s, and both programs, boys and girls, had good records, and it just kind of evolved, and it's kind of rivalry where you go at it, but then when the game's over, everybody goes out. So
I'm counting on that. Yeah, I can attest. I can attest to that more than most people. I think. One thing. Two things one question and one thing I want to mention. First of all is, and you can take your time to answer this one. You've seen Rocky IV. You know the introduction that Drago had when he fought Rocky. The lights go down, spotlight, huge picture. Will I have that kind of entrance in Groveton next week? Will they do a spotlight for me when I walk in? Is there going to be a red carpet coming through into the gym at Groveton? That would be my first question. I'd imagine that's a yes. And then the second one is, your son Kevin Trask, who's become a friend of mine, and Butch Ladd, who might be my hero, running the Northeast, doing a great job with the Northeast Sports Network. I don't know if people know, but you can watch games live on the Northeast Sports Network. I watched the Woodsville-Littleton game live. I watched the Littleton-Colebrook game live. While my daughter was in the next room watching the Disney Channel. So, they do a great job over there. I know Butchie and Kevin are going to do Profile Woodsville Friday night. We might be doing that game. I'm not certain what we're doing Friday night yet. And then I believe they're going to be in Groveton next to us on Saturday. So I think we're going to do some stuff with those guys, some intros and whatever. But those guys do a great job. So I just wanted to kind of mention, you can kind of speak to that. But I think most importantly, what kind of greeting am I getting in Groveton?
Yeah, well,
Because all I got in Colebrook was you eating popcorn and nodding at me when I walked in. 3.5-hour drive and you're eating your popcorn. You just nod at me. I'm like, hey, great to be here.
That was my pregame meal. You got to deal with that. I see you all the time. Well, who knows? I'll talk to Brock, and it's not so much it's the game. It's what goes on. We got stuff planned for you afterwards.
All right, buddy.
It's a little different, slightly different than what it was in Colebrook.
Oh boy, we'll talk about that off the air. I'm ready to go. All I'm gonna say is I'm ready to go. I was training in Jamaica for this, like Balboa for Creed. I'm ready to go.
Buddy, give us your take on the Super Bowl tomorrow night. Patriots and the Seahawks. Who you like?
Well, I really haven't thought about it that much yet. I haven't really had a good year, but I'm probably leaning towards the Patriots right now. So, for those people who like to do other things, I'll go with the Seahawks because that's the way my year has gone. But, I just think with all the stuff that's gone on, I'm a big believer in stuff like that as far as teams and stuff go, and what goes on off the field sometimes affect what goes on the field, and I think the incentives with all that stuff is going on, and the question marks with 2 of now 3, I guess, if I saw last night that with Chancellor.
Yeah.
There's 3 question marks in that backfield. And unlike my Packers, who didn't attack Sherman for whatever reason and had their best player handing off the last 4 minutes of the game for minus yardage, I think the Patriots will go at them. So Leaning towards the Patriots, Pete.
All right. Well, you're welcome on this show anytime with answers like that. But we do appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing the video coverage next week on the website as Colebrook and Groveton renew acquaintances. Buddy Trask, thanks so much for joining us, and stay warm up there.
Oh, thank you for having me.
All right.
We'll see you later.
All right. Quick timeout. We'll come back. We'll wrap up the show. Dave throwing some arrows in his column on nhsportspage.com, the Thursday Thoughts. People on the Seacoast are kind of scurrying around about it. We'll talk about that when we return. The New Hampshire High School Hoop Show, News Radio 610 and 96.7.
These guys know their high school basketball. It's the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show with Pete Terrier and Dave Haley on News Radio 610 and 96.7.
Well, we may know our high school basketball, but sometimes I find something a little bit surprising and eyebrow-raising when I'm on your website, Dave, nhsportspage.com, and you went after some people on the Seacoast, that Spartans AAU program. I'm reading the Thursday Thoughts from this past Thursday, and you basically didn't pull any punches going right after Chris Coates and that Spartans AAU program. Why?
Well, it wasn't an attack on him personally, but it's that program. Basically, and I talked to Chris. Chris was, good enough to reach out to me and
after this surfaced, you mean?
Oh yeah. And I've had a couple of conversations. I gotten a lot of feedback. Most of it really, honestly, is like I agree 100%, and yeah, I know. And I've even talked to people involved formerly there. It's when you hear something and it's a common theme for 3 years from 5 or 6 coaches that you talk to all the time. And, when I didn't plan to write about it, but when Winnicott came up in the game of the week, it did fit. And so I stand behind everything I wrote. And, I understand that there's some people in that organization might have been hurt by it. I'm not trying to hurt anybody. I don't think I'm going to change anything over there. But that is a very, very statewide perception of that program. And you cannot deny that these coaches that I reference, and Jamie Hayes is another one from Newmarket, and Sean Young from Epping is another one I could throw in there, that feel like their players have gotten worse, and I think the most important thing over the summer for these kids is skill development. And I hear parents all the time say, my kid just needs to play a lot of games. No, if you're not playing the right way, your kid's not getting any better. I'm sorry, they're not. A guy like Noah LaRoche, and Integrity Hoops, a guy like Miguel Gonzalez, a guy like Matt Regan, how he runs his program, which is a new program. It's skill development, okay, and it's how to learn the game, and that's, I think, the most important facet for parents to get their kids into, and I think it's a misconception.
So just nothing in particular set you off, and you
did. I could have written this 3 years ago. I told Chris that, and again, Chris was great, on the phone, and he didn't agree, and he made his points, and that's fine, but I respect his opinion, but I could have written this 3 years ago.
All right. It just surprised me a little bit to see it, and I didn't really know the story. So I'm glad you were able to talk about it. All right. We got about 30 seconds.
31-17.
31-17 who?
Kidding me? We're going to win. I'm telling you, we're going to win this game.
All right. Should I be upset at my 7-year-old son who tells me he's going to root for the Seahawks?
Yes.
I am. Trust me.
Stick him in a snowbank.
I am. I like the Pats 27-17. That's all the time we have. Want to thank Buddy Trask from Colebrook for joining us, John Kesty for filming it, our producer Jeremy Mahaney. Check out the video cast on the website at some point, and enjoy the football game tomorrow. For Dave Haley, I'm Pete Terrier. Go Pats.